today we are talking to Antonia Siegel. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So before we kind of talk about what you do and the kind of work you do and the kind of people that you help, can you just give us a little bit of background about you and your life and the kind of the journey that got you into what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as a youngster, I always loved sport, was always into my health and fitness from a young age. So I always wanted to end up in this space at some stage, but I actually started out in sales. So I had a 25-year corporate career in sales, relationship management and partnerships, which kind of led me all over the country, worked for some kind of sporting events, some blue chip companies. And then as a sideline, I did a fitness competition, and at my gym, people wanted to know what to eat, how they could eat better for their health, for their shape. So I ended up just as a hobby writing a few food programs for people.
Okay. So you weren't working at the gym. That was just
just hobby. That's just my hobby and my passion. So it kind of snowballed from there. I then wanted to work out why some people could do what I told them and some people couldn't.
Right. Okay.
Which always fascinated me because it was the same information tailored to them, but they, some people just couldn't follow it through. So then COVID happened. I worked for a large sporting events company, and all our events kind of came to a grinding halt. So that's when I decided to do an online course with a Mind Body Food Institute in Australia and become a coach in the wellness area.
Okay. And was that kind of a big leap? I mean, what happened during COVID? Did you kind of did the work just dry up? Your normal kind of day job just stopped, did it?
Yeah, well, it didn't stop, but I ended up going down to about 2.5 days a week, which meant I could study the rest of the time. So it was a really fortuitous opportunity, and possibly something that I wouldn't have done had it not been for COVID. So that's kind of one of the pluses of COVID for me personally, although I realized it wasn't great all around.
No, definitely not. So was there a kind of a moment where you just thought, I want to do this rather than this, or was it just kind of gradually sneak up on you?
It kind of gradually snuck up on me, and just circumstances really. And then I did the two in tandem for a while, and then last year kind of went out on my own.
And was that quite a scary moment, going waving goodbye to the regular money?
Absolutely. 100%. But as we know, change is uncomfortable, right? And sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith and see what comes.
And how hard was it to kind of set up the business? Was it an easy process, or?
It was okay. It was okay. I had a really good course, which kind of did a full-on business module at the end. So you weren't just left to think, okay, now what? So that really, really helped. And then I guess when you've got your own business, it's so great because it can evolve daily. If you want to make a change, you can make it right there and then.
Instantly, yeah.
I've really enjoyed setting up the business and all the kind of elements that come with it: design, branding, marketing, and then obviously the actual coaching in itself. So I quite enjoy the whole picture.
Okay, brilliant. So you, on your website, you describe yourself as a mindset and behavior change coach.
Yes.
So if I came to you as a kind of prospective client and I said to you, what does that mean exactly? What do you do? How would you explain that to me?
So I essentially help people kind of identify areas for change. Often people come to me because they're stuck and they don't know how. The obstacle to change is because they don't know how. So as a mindset behavior change coach, I mean, everything begins in the mind, and what we think each day become our feelings. They become our behaviors. So it's kind of every thought leads to a feeling, every feeling leads to a behavior. So if you can kind of help people to reach the right mindset first, then you can then instill the behavior change. And I work with clients quite collaboratively in a partnership. And at the end of each session, we kind of, right at the beginning, we establish their goals. Where do they want to get to? So my niche is kind of wellness. So people with life balance kind of issues, stress is a big one, habit change, and menopause. So they're kind of my key areas. So I guess it's about changing people's thoughts to enable them to change their behaviors.
Right. Okay. And does that kind of the background you have in fitness how does that kind of play into what you do?
I guess intuitively, I've just always known what to do. So I can bring that I can bring all my experience over the years of how to eat well, how to train. But I mean, the kind of movement side of it doesn't really come into that. I'm not a PT, but it's all about kind of creating healthier habits, because your habits eventually become your lifestyle. But habits are, as you might know, 70% of the time they're unconscious, and we don't even know we're doing it. They're so automatic. So it's about bringing thoughts and behaviors to the surface, so then we can actually make them visible and do something about changing them for where the client would like to get to.
Okay, so I mean, it is. I think the kind of the feeling I get talking to people is that this kind of the holistic approach to looking at mind and body and everything all at the same time is something that's becoming more prevalent.
Absolutely. Mind-body connection, it's huge. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, because I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day, and she said that there's been a lot of stuff in the media about processed meat, and how bad it is for you and all that kind of stuff. But not only is it bad for you because it's physically bad for you, but then people who are eating a lot of processed meat then become guilty because they're eating a lot of processed meat. So it has a kind of knock-on effect.
Yeah, it really does. And people can get stuck in a real downward trajectory.
Yeah.
So it's about kind of positive, small daily step changes that lead to large overall change over time.
Okay. And what's the kind of the breakdown of the people that you help with? Is it kind of mainly men, women, age group, or?
I would say it's mainly midlife. So people that have come into midlife, I would say 70% female audience, 30% male. And the type of clients I see seem to be massively overwhelmed, really like stuck in the stress response, anxious, maybe low depressed, struggling to kind of getting frustrated because they want to change, but they don't know how, and they want to instill good habit change. They want to manage their stress better. They'd like to lose some weight, balance their hormones, but they just don't know how to start.
And do you find that people, they kind of have a better understanding of mental health and the process than they used to, or is it still a bit kind of vague?
It's interesting. I still think it's quite vague out there. I mean, the word mental health is bandied about, but actually when I ask clients, do you even know what mental health means? It's interesting. They're not too sure. And it's actually, I mean, I put it very simply, but I say it's a combination of your thoughts and your emotions, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of our mental health, a lot of our thoughts and emotions are often so unconscious, we don't even know why we feel the way we feel. So a lot of the coaching work I do is about bringing people to awareness, like being aware, and the awareness you can then tackle changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, they just don't have the time to sit and think about these type of things. You know, they don't know how to think about it, and they don't have the time to do it anyway.
Exactly, and that whole point of a coach is kind of, it's to move people to where they want to be. It's also to act as a sounding board. It's to kind of ask difficult questions. It's to change perceptions. It's to give somebody accountability and support. Essentially, that's what I tend to become. I tend to become their support and their accountability. And accountability really works well if you want to make change.
Yeah. And if they don't want to make change, then nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And do you find there's more and more kind of people coming to you with issues around the menopause? Because I mean, I live in France, and it's quite a kind of under the carpet kind of thing. I think a lot of French doctors don't really believe it exists, but you know.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's definitely coming to the surface more in the UK, but there is still so much confusion around it. So what I tend to do with midlife clients who come to me with kind of perimenopause, menopausal type symptoms, what I do, I'm not a doctor. We don't discuss HRT, anything like that. That's out my scope of practice. But there's so many things we can look at in order to improve their lifestyle. So it's science-backed, evidence-based lifestyle solutions is what we look at.
Right.
And it always starts with sleep. Sleep is like the elixir of health, and it's the elixir of kind of trying to help menopausal women as well. So we start with sleep and then we steadily work our way through kind of nutrition, just general stress, allostatic load, what stress levels are they dealing with, and we take it from there. So it's interesting as well, because when we come to midlife, it's not just menopause at play, and a lot of people think it's just the menopause. It's actually not. It's aging, it's inflammation of what's gone before, it's oxidative stress. There's so many factors at play. And what we kind of say, the lady I learnt of, Dr. Wendy Sweet from New Zealand, it's like the bookend to puberty. And there's a lot going on right now. We've got aging parents, we've got a job to hold down, we've got family, our hormones are going wild. We're dealing with a lot.
Yeah. And I imagine that kind of sleep-related disorders and people having trouble with sleep is a hugely common thing. I mean, everybody I know struggles to sleep in one way or another.
It's huge, and there are so really small changes you can make in order to sleep better. Just really simple. But I've had success with women who have left, I guess, finished their coaching program with me, feeling what they say is they feel a lot more like themselves.
Right. Okay. That's brilliant.
Which is lovely, and I'm really passionate about supporting both men and women in midlife, because it's actually quite a complex stage of life, and we want to live it. We want to, we've got the rest of our life. We want to reach midlife and be healthy, be well, and be in the best place we can be going forward. We've worked really hard, and we now want to enjoy it.
And be happy. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know how to be. They don't know what they want to make them happy, and they don't know how to be happy.
Exactly. And coaching can just give them the direction and the kind of structure that they've been looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's brilliant. So you're obviously kind of very passionate about it. Do you have any regrets about kind of giving up the day job?
You know what? I loved what I did. I genuinely loved it. I worked for an amazing boss, an amazing company for 13 years. But actually, it just felt like the right time. And this felt more like, I'm not going to say a calling, but I've always been interested in supporting and helping others. And this just felt like the right time. It's something that I so believe in and I'm so passionate about that it just was the right time.
Okay. And if you weren't knowing what you know now, if you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing instead?
Genuinely, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I really mean that. I kind of, somebody was talking about midlife and what age you retire. I'm like, I'm just getting going.
So not professional athlete, professional CrossFit.
Oh no, you know what? I'll keep that for my hobby.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. No, that's really useful. That's very interesting. That's it's good to talk to you, and it's good to kind of get a better feel around these kind of issues. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.